All right, guys, I think it's 5 past, so we should get going. Right, just say, let me see if I can get the video going. There we go. Hi, this is me. Glad to have you guys. So let's get started, guys. So welcome. I know a few people are still trickling in, but yes, so everybody's muted right now. So what I recommend is use the chat window because I want to keep the line clear. Yep. All right, guys. So this is a excuse me, a preview class of a upcoming class we are running. It's called Google Cloud for Data Scientists. Just a quick intro. Excuse me. Yeah. This is me. My name is Suji Maniam. I am a founder and principal trainer at Elephant Scale. So what we do is we basically teach and consult in basically sort of the, these are the 4 areas we specialize in: AI, big data, and cloud, right? So that's our strong suit. And personally on my back end, just, publish a few books, publish a video course with O'Reilly. And I do open source work when I have some time, and my contact is here. Right? I'm going to send you guys these slides, so you will have all the details. All right, guys. So that's me on a quick nutshell. Let's see if we have. I'm looking for 1 second. I'm trying to see if we have Thomas here. He wants to quickly do a quick introduction. Thomas, let me get you on.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, Thomas. Yes, we can hear you. Go on.
Hi, Suji. How are you? Yeah, well, we appreciate everybody taking the time out their day to join this preview class. And as Suji mentioned, the idea is to give you a little snapshot preview of our next class that's coming up next week, which will be on Tuesday. We'll have 2 classes actually. We have a full weekend schedule, Saturday and Sunday, which is both 8 hours each, for a total of 16 hours. And then we have a weekday evening class as well for you, starting at 7 p.m. To about 10 p.m. And that will be ran for 4 days straight from Tuesday. Is that right, Suji? From Tuesday to Thursday, right?
Yes, I believe so. Yeah, and the for the time zones, we will figure it out because
Yes.
we are like kind of covering 3 time zones. So depending on how people are enrolling, we will kind of pick the time zone that works for most people.
Yes.
Yeah.
So just to clarify for everybody, everybody will receive an Eventbrite link after this for the class for next week. We hope you enjoy it. Anybody that comes and is taking this preview class will actually get a 20% discount code on top of the early bird special. So right now the early bird special is only $150, and you'll get a 20% discount. We'll be sending it out throughout the class as well. If you want to get it right away, it's very simple. It's ESGC, so Elephant Scale Google Cloud. So ESGC for 20% on top of the early bird. And these are courses that we've lowered significantly. Generally, these courses are much more expensive. And the team, Elephant Scale, has really delivered these type of quality courses to Fortune 500 companies, to organizations like NASA, Visa, AWS, and many others. So the quality that you're receiving is really top notch, and we hope that you enjoy it, and we hope that you let other people know about it. So if you need any help, or if you need to email me, my email is Thomas, THOMAS, @elephantscale.com. So feel free to email with any questions you may have. If you would like to get the video recording of this class, we'll help you with that as well and send that to you. So we hope that you enjoy this, and take care and be safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Thomas. I sort of put this in. So is it ESGC, right? I don't know if you can see my screen. Is that right? ESGC? Yep.
Yep, ESGC, that's correct.
Got it. All right. Hey, thanks, Thomas. I will, let you go. Enjoy your
Thank
evening.
you. Enjoy, everyone. Bye-bye.
We'll start with the class. Yeah. All right, guys. So Thomas going to give you a rundown, right? We have a class coming up next week. So this is the preview class. I do want to cover some content in this class as well, because we want to make sure this is worthwhile for your time. So let's do a couple of things before we get started, a couple of logistics. So you guys are probably all in this doc right now. So let me put this link in the Zoom window as well. So this is the link we sent out for this class. So I'll kind of put all the links, basically everything we need right here into the doc. So this is probably the only URL you guys need. Let me know if you guys can access this. All right, so we're all here, so you all registered. So there was a checklist I set up for the class. I'm going to walk through that real quick. So basically, right here. So what we do is this is the Google Cloud. So what I recommended was we want to sort of have some Python prereqs, because it's always good to know Python these days. So I gave you guys some links for the Python. Again, if you're wondering how did I get there, so you should first come to this URL right here, right? It's in the Zoom window. Let me put this one more time. One more time right here. That's a URL. So come here, and then from here I'm sharing all the links, right? So no need to kind of write down any other links except for this one. So if you remember this one, bookmark this or take a photo, and that's the one we are using. Yep. All right. What else I need to show you guys? Good. So let me go to the checklist. So here's a link for the checklist. And so some Python prereqs is always recommended. So I'm giving you some Python links right here. So even if you're like a, say, Java programmer, you haven't done Python before, I would highly recommend spending some time. These are all free resources. They are online, and you can really get a pretty good introduction to Python just by using these, right? So I recommend these real highly. And then definitely, since it's a Google Cloud class, you guys need Google Cloud access, right? So for this, I'm going to look at option 1 is what we are doing, because go to the Google Cloud website, and then just, if you have a Google account, you already should be able to access this. And another thing you can do is you can check for free credits for Google Cloud. I think they still give about $300 worth of credit promotion. So if you can claim that, that's pretty cool, because that'll last you a while. Because as you know, cloud is pretty affordable. So even if you run through the labs for this class, you will still have a lot of money left over. So I will definitely check to see if you can get the credit, right? So we are not going to give you quick labs on this one, because that means the reason quick labs is not provided is it's an enterprise setup, and also with the quick labs, as soon as you're done with your lab, the lab basically goes away. Like all your work is basically goes away, it disappears. But option 1 is what I'm recommending to you guys. So have your own Google account, either personally or through work, either way, right? But if you're doing personal, definitely check out free credits, right? That's plenty. And step 2, these are the software we want you guys to install on your computer. So you guys already have Zoom, just some basic browsers. And if you notice, I didn't tell you guys how to install anything for Google Cloud just yet, because we will. I'll give you guys a link a little later. That's it. So pretty straightforward setup. Make sure you guys have Google Cloud access. That's the main thing. The rest you can catch up a little later. So any questions so far, guys? If you have any questions, please go ahead and type them in. That's probably the easiest. Any questions so far on the setup or logistics, anything at all? Very good. So as you guys, you can always send the question through chat. So okay, question is, what are the prereqs? Good question. So this class is Google Cloud for data science, data scientists. So we kind of expect you guys to have some basic data analytics or data science background. That's a good to have, right? So when I say data analytics, could be analyzing data, could be running SQL queries, right? Just some familiarity with basic data analytics will be really good to have. And I'm also recommending, right, so this is not required, by the way, right? I should say optional, or I should say nice to have, right? I should say nice to have Python as well, right? So, and these days Python is always good to have, right? Whether you have Google Cloud or machine learning, either way. So yeah, I'm a big proponent of Python. So, and check these links out, right? These are free, they are very good. You can spend like just a couple of hours and get a pretty good idea of Python. All right. Any other questions? So again, guys, yeah, please get the question, type the questions in. And while you guys are here, there are a couple of things I want you guys to complete, just logistics item. Oh, by the way, if you scroll down in this doc, here's my contact. And also, here's an early bird discount coupon we just talked about. So, right. So this is for the class next week. Right. So if you have any questions in that front, you can email me or Thomas. We'll help you out. Now, I'd like to get an idea of your background, guys. So what I'd like to do real quick, if you don't mind, let's do a quick background survey right here, the one I'm highlighting. Right. So this way I can get an idea of your background and the technologies you're familiar with. So just take a minute. Here's a link. Again, if you're wondering where these things are from your document, keep scrolling down, right, towards the end. And here's the background survey I'm talking about. Okay. So if you just take a minute, tell me about your background a little bit. That'll be awesome. Okay. Good, guys. I see the responses coming in. So. All right, guys, if you joined us a little later, we are right now doing the background survey right now. Yep. So right here, what I'm highlighting. And this is on the doc we shared with you guys. Let me put the link one more time. So this is the class notes for this for today's class. Here's a link. And if you come to the link, kind of scroll down a bit, you see the background link for the background survey, right? So that's what we are doing right now. All right, guys, let's see. Good. Okay, we have a pretty decent response so far. That's great. All right, so developer, okay, admin, analyst, data scientist, okay, good. All right, guys, so this is good. This is kind of the mix I was looking at. All right. Okay, so let's look at language metrics here a little bit. So you can see, so most of you kind of, know a little bit about the Python, and that's very good. And I'll recommend you can sort of, spend some time, get a little bit more comfortable. That's always good to know. Let's see. Okay, very good, sure. And let's see, computer mix. Okay, Mac and Windows pretty evenly. Gotcha. Okay. All right. So let's see how you guys are going to do Google Cloud Access. Most of you are doing personal. Some of you are doing through work. So you guys not have it yet, please, you should definitely get Google Cloud, right? I mean, that's basically a prereq for you guys to run through this class and labs. So definitely, again, if you have a Google account, you're pretty much as good as have it. Just need to kind of go through the sign up process and agree to a few agreements. That's it. Okay. I recommend you guys have this, right? So, all right. So Google credit, right? So this is important. Once you guys sign up for Google Cloud, go to the link, the checklist. All right. Again, where's the checklist? Checklist is actual link is right here. Right from here, and because I always you can just do a search for Google Cloud credits, right? And then go to the page, and then you have to just say accept, and that's it, right? So definitely claim the credit, guys, right? And I don't think they expire, so they are pretty good. They are very generous with the credits. All right, cool. And a favorite dessert. So anyway, I just thought I'll do something a little funny. All right, guys, this is good. Thank you for filling this in. I appreciate this. Gives you a pretty good idea of your background. For this class, I do have some material for you guys to. Let me give you the link so where you can download the materials. Give me a sec. All right. All right, guys. So here's the materials. If you need to download the materials here. So what you should do is simply go to this link, right? And then punch in your name and email, because what the system is going to do is going to email you the slides, right? And when it's asking for the code, what you want is when I enter the code, simply just copy paste this code I just entered right here. This is the code. So you can just copy paste into the code window, and that's it. Okay. All right, so maybe a minute to sign up and get the materials. So again, very simply, just go to the link, punch in your name and email. We do need a valid email to send the materials. And then when it's asking for the code, just simply copy paste the code. All right. That's it. All right. And then check your email, please. So the slide should be coming to you guys by email. Okay. So I see you guys are signing in. That's great. Okay. So that should be 1, 2, 3, about five emails so far, right? All right, are you guys able to sign in and get the slides? Yep. Yeah, let me know if you have any trouble signing in. Basically, again, remember, don't bother typing, just copy paste the code, okay? Because if you start typing it in, you'll, might make a mistake. So just copy paste the code and that's it. So can you guys let me know if you are getting the emails yet? Just type in the chat window so I will see. Yeah. Cool, okay, very good. So if you guys did sign up and not getting emails, please check your spam folder. Sometimes it ends up there. Yep. So good. So very good. So thank you. So it looks like you guys are getting emails there. So that's very good. Cool. All right. Just give it a few more seconds so you guys had sign up. Oh, the code is right here, right? So if you scroll down a bit, you see at the exactly. Thank you. Yep. So the code is right here. You can see my screen. Yep. Okay. Yep. Good, guys. Good. All right, guys. So the slides you guys have. So the slide deck number 1 you guys had. See. All right. So slide deck 1 is the outline. So that's what we are going to cover in the class. I'll cover some of them today, just to kind of so you can sort of see what the materials in the labs look like. But this gives you a detailed outline on what we are going to be covering. Okay. So that's slide deck number 1 for you guys. All right. So let's look at about the class real quick. So slide number 2. So again, right, so this is the basically a Google Cloud Data Science. So the prereqs for this class, some interest in data science and data analytics. And like I said, basic Python knowledge is very nice to have. And again, this is an intro class, so we don't expect any previous background in cloud or data, sort of data engineering on the cloud. We will teach you guys in this class, right? That's the whole point. So this is kind of the agenda. Again, so this is kind of done in a full day class. So what we will do is kind of remember that we are kind of doing an evening class. So we'll kind of spread out a little bit more, right? But this is basically what we are going to cover: compute engine, data storage, BigQuery, and Google Colab, right? All these guys. And then also we look at Spark and Hadoop on cloud as well, right? So in this one, we are not going to go into machine learning because, like I said, this is an evening class, so we had to kind of cut down some content. So kind of like day 3 up to content is what we are going to cover. So again, because being in our classes, you guys know, we like to sort of teach you guys sort of the concepts and fundamentals, because once you know them, then sort of the APIs and the code will much more sense, right? So that's how our classes are structured. And also our classes are very hands-on because I had people in the class who said, oh, they may have read a book watch some videos, but they will say, they didn't get a chance to do hands-on. So this class is designed to be a very hands-on class. So that's why I strongly encourage you guys to get the Google Cloud account so you can do the labs. And also, I want you guys to ask questions anytime. So just to keep the line clear, what I recommend is use the chat window to type in the questions, and then I'll keep an eye on them and answer any questions you guys might have. Okay. So introductions, you guys, I talked about myself already. So, and also, thank you guys for filling out the survey. That gave me a pretty good idea of your background. That's great, right? So this is a good book. I'll recommend. So this is one of the Google, right? I think he still works at Google, I believe. So yeah, right. So this is a pretty authoritative book, and Google Cloud has a lot of good tutorials, right? So the links are here, and also they have a pretty good GitHub as well. So you can sort of start looking at some of the examples as well. Well, all right. So I am being told no more credits. Google is no longer offering any more credits. Is that true? Is that what you guys are seeing when you try to get the credits? I'm really surprised though, okay, because they were really very bullish on credits. Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, so if you had a okay, if your credits expired, interesting. Okay, yeah, I didn't realize they expired though. Okay, interesting. I thought I think they give you about $300 worth of credit, and I didn't realize they were expiring. Okay, so definitely worth checking. Oh, in a year, I see. Interesting. Okay. So $300 is good for a year. Okay, so they may have kind of tightened the window a little bit, I guess. Okay. So definitely. So if you have it, so if you don't have a credit, right, there are a couple of things you can do. You can always get a new Gmail account just for the class, right? And then that should give you a new account. You can get a credit. And in the past, we had people use their credit card, and honestly, it's not going to charge. I mean, our typical charge in the credit card was like around $5 to $10 for the Google Cloud for the entire class. So it's not that much of money because the labs we are going to do. I will make sure you guys shut down the labs after you guys are done, right? So basically, around like $10 is even if you're going to use your own personal credit card. That's how you might spend for this class, right? So I mean, yeah, so not too bad, right? But yeah, right. I mean, free is better if you can get it. So yeah, please try it out. So you can either create a new account or just swipe your credit card. Again, like I said, $10 to $20 at most. And also remember, you don't have to pay up front, right? They need a card on file, and then what they do is as you start using resources, they will deduct the credits. Right, so that's how it works. So, okay, logistics. So you guys might have a contact. It's in the slides. The slides are coming to you guys by email. And the lab environment. Remember, we are going to work on Google Cloud, so I don't have to provide any lab environment, right? So everyone will have the Google Cloud environment to work on. So that's the idea. Good guys. Any other questions? Logistics or any other questions on the Google Cloud front? Okay, so I'm gonna do like oh, so I see the number 4 is missing. So number 4 is like an Excel spreadsheet. Let me see if I can upload it to you guys. This is something I do with all my students. What we do is we do like a little self-assessment. Let me, one moment. Okay, so because people ask me, okay, what kind of skills do we need for data science, right? So we have like a little Excel spreadsheet, so you can do like a self-evaluation to add, excuse me. So can I say, okay, how's your Python skills? How's your cloud skills, right? So you can sort of give yourself like a 1 to 10 rating. The reason we do that is so you can do like a like a self-evaluation, and then say, okay, I need to focus more on this, things like that. I'll send the link to you guys during a break. Okay, so that's number 4. Let's talk about number 5. So this is what I want to go through today. Just a kind of quick introduction to Google Cloud, just to kind of give you a flavor on what we are going to be covering, right? And again, please, do any questions alongside, and I will answer any questions. So today's kind of intro class, but I do want to do like an intro section, so to give you a taste of what you can expect for the Google Cloud. All right. So you guys can see my screen, I hope. So let's talk about why do we need to go to cloud, right? So traditionally, like data science has been done pretty much on your laptop, right? You have a small amount of data. You can just slice and dice data through whether you're using Python or some other nice UI tool. You can do everything on your laptop. And I still know plenty of people who have either laptops or maybe like a powerful workstations sitting on their desk where they run right, their data science code. So that's fine. So this is what we have been doing for the past few years. So what's happening is right now, sort of, we are kind of more and more moving to larger and larger data sizes. So what it means is we are kind of outgrowing our laptops. So at this point, we started wanting clusters. Think about this, like if you're familiar with big data, so ecosystem, if you think about Hadoop, Spark, all these guys were basically invented because we needed clusters. Right? So what do clusters do, right? So if you think about clusters, they give you basically 2 things. One is called distributed data. So what they mean is they sort of distribute the data across many, many machines, right? And so this way your load is balanced. So you can, even if you have huge amounts of data, your system can scale. Right? So you guys have heard about, people population stats like, how many hundreds of terabytes of data they have, or even petabytes of data, because these systems can scale. And not only that, they have something called distributed computing, meaning when you run your program in a cluster, what happens is your program runs on each machine, right, independently and in parallel. So now you can actually scale to crunch huge amounts of data, right? So that's how sort of going from a single laptop to like a cluster gives you, right, more storage and better computing. Right? So what we have to adapt is like if you're a data scientist who are used to sort of running your code in a small laptop, how do we adapt to running it in the cloud? And that's exactly what this class is going to teach you guys, how to do data science and data analytics on Google Cloud, right? So if you think about data science, right? So usually the way it's been done is something like this. So let's say I'm a data scientist. So I'm sort of developing my model on my laptop, right? So maybe I'm using R or Python or something like this. So I'm building a new model. I'm doing a new analytics. I'm sort of working on basically I usually work on a small sample data. And usually when they do is, then they say, okay, this is working on the small data. Let's see if this works on a large scale data. So what they will do is they will usually hand over the code to what we call data engineers, right, to basically deploy the code at scale. And let's say, my data scientist use R or Python, but the system is designed in, say, Java. My cluster is running on Java. So I cannot deploy a Python code on a Java platform, right? So what I need to do is basically, sometimes, most of the time, data engineers or the machine learning engineers, they rewrite the code, model or create the code in the target platform and then deploy. So this is not a very efficient situation, right? It's like, you're basically re-implementing a solution for scale in a different language, maybe using different APIs and all that. So this is very inefficient. So this thing is called laptop to cluster has been always problematic. Right? How do you scale? How do you deploy large models from your laptop to the cluster very quickly? And this problem is called deployment gap. Right? So usually, like data scientists work on your laptops, and then they sort of hand over the code to data engineers, and then they can re-implement this in a different language and different APIs, And when they do this, maybe they will introduce bugs, right? So how do we do all that? And so the cloud vendors are basically, trying to figure this out, because this is the serious problem, right? So what happens is, imagine what needs to happen when you have large amounts of data. So let's say there's no cloud. So yeah, let's say you have a cluster. I kind of you have to read from sort of bottom up, right? So we have a cluster, right, running, and let's say there's like a DevOps team keeping the cluster running. So that's your job, right? They want to, with the Hadoop cluster, Spark cluster, they have to keep it running. And then the data engineering team, they will build things like pipelines or ETL workflows on top of the cluster. And then the data scientists then analyze the data, right, using the infrastructure. So like there's layers and layers, right, of sort of teams involved, and this is a pretty serious undertaking, right? Because you need to have, you have a cluster, have a DevOps team, have a DE team, and then finally the data science team. Right? So this is how it has been run sort of before the cloud days. Pretty heavy investment. You hire a lot of people to kind of manage your infrastructure, the whole works. But then the cloud kind of changing things a little bit, right? So because what we want to, let's say I want to do data science, right? I just want to do data science, right? I don't want to spend time building infrastructure. So let's say, I'm say Walmart, right? My competency is retail. So I just want to build, I just want to, analyze my data, find the, whatever, right? Find the best price, do the best recommendations. I don't want to spend a lot of time just building the infrastructure, right? And then what I also want is, I want to kind of quickly work on small data. Let's say I come up with a new recommendation system. So I try on small data, okay, it seems to work, and then very quickly deploy or test a large data. Because we don't want to go through this sort of, this route, right? I hand over the code to somebody else and they re-implement the whole thing, right? So that's very time consuming. And also we want to use all the data. And this is a big problem because even if we have, I've seen this with my clients, even if they have big data, they do not have infrastructure to analyze big data. So what they do is they only take a sample of the data and analyze the data, right? So when you take a sample, you're not really, even sampling is a bit of an art, right? You got to make sure your sample actually represents the overall data. What if it doesn't? Then you're kind of working on a data that's not really representative, right? So, but if you use the whole data, there's no right. You're using all the data. You're not missing anybody out. And also, more complex models need a lot of compute power. So the example I always say is like, I always think of infrastructure like hot water, right? I mean, think of, how do we use hot water at home, right? You turn on, it's on demand, you turn on the tap, right? Water comes out and we only pay for what we use. That's it, right? We don't even think about this, right? So that's how the infrastructure has become. Infrastructure has become like almost like hot water, right? As in like, just we use, like there's, we can use as much as we want and pay for what we use. And it's, it's always available, basically, right? So anyway, so that's kind of where we're heading, right? So a lot of the companies have already kind of adopted this infrastructure because if you've been building on the cloud, right, you have pretty much, have all these sort of wish lists come true. So that's why a lot of the cloud vendors, pretty much all of them, there's like, these are three popular ones, Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. They're kind of providing either AI as a service or data science as a service. Right? So what it means is they say, okay, we will take care of the infrastructure. You can just focus on the algorithm and data. Right? If I'm a customer, I only care about my data and my algorithms. I don't want to worry about infrastructure. That's taken care of by the cloud vendors. And I think that's a pretty attractive proposition for a lot of companies because they will say, okay, let's not worry about building a huge infrastructure. Let's just focus on what we know best, right? Our business logic. So that's what the appealing for this cloud providers. All right, so that's sort of a generic cloud. Like, why do we need? Why is the move to cloud makes sense? Are there any questions on this one, guys? Like a little, why do we need to go to cloud, scalable, cluster computing, all that? Let me kind of pause here for a few seconds. If you have any questions, could you type them in, please? Right, so we looked at, sort of how the existing infrastructure, multiple teams, and, right, going from deployment gap, all that. Let me know if you have any questions. Right. So one of the question is, which cloud is good for data scientists? That's a great question. So, right. So you can sort of see here, right, three popular clouds. And if you look at the time frame, Amazon was there first, right? Amazon was the one kind of started the cloud, and then Google and Microsoft came on, right? So Amazon, probably has a few years of experience running cloud. But also remember, I mean, like Google is not a stranger for cloud, right? I mean, even though they are late for the public cloud market, they've been running cloud before anybody else can, right? The whole infrastructure runs on cloud. So these guys know how to do infrastructure. Microsoft also, investing very heavily in the cloud. So even though, Amazon had a head start, I think the gap is kind of narrowing now. I would say, 80, 90% of the features are pretty common across the cloud, right? Across the cloud vendors. I mean, yeah, maybe like some corner cases where, one cloud vendor might be better than the other, but most of the time, yeah, right? Most clouds are pretty par. Again, I wouldn't say equal, but, 80, 90% of the time, the features are the same. So a lot of the time, which cloud vendors you guys pick depends. It's going to be dependent on your company, right? So, companies evaluate cloud services, and they figure out things like viability, what kind of deal they can get, and all that, right? So, for example, right? So, I mean, I'll give you an example. Like we do a lot of work at Walmart, so they will never go with Amazon, right? I mean, for obvious reasons. So they are very big in Google Cloud and Microsoft Azure, right? So like a lot of the retailers, like Macy's and right, all these guys, they will not go to Amazon because for them, they are a strong competition, right? So they will choose it anyway. So there are a lot of other factors that come into play when choosing a cloud than just features. Yeah. So now let's talk about Google Cloud a little more specifically. So let me talk about all these kind of independent things, right? This is so high level features. Basically, there's no infrastructure to manage. They take out all infrastructure. You basically get, quote unquote, unlimited scale, right, for all practical purposes. And also, you only pay for what we use. I mean, these all pretty common to all the cloud, right? And all your infrastructure is monitored. So if there's something goes wrong, you can go and diagnose what's going on. And basically a full life cycle deployment, like, so dev, debugging, and deployment, they're all kind of, very integrated. So the way I look at the Google Cloud is like more like a platform, right? So a platform as a service, so you can, all these things built in, right? We just, simply start using it. Okay. So here's like a little, the Gartner's quadrant, you guys probably all know this, right? So the basic sense is, I'm not a business guy, but basic sense is you kind of want to be on the top right quadrant, right? That's kind of the, and you can see all the big guys, right, are there, right? So, and you can see Amazon has a slight edge because Amazon had a little longer to invent than others. So yeah, so others will catch up too, right? So. Cost comparison. So one of the questions is like, how's the cost? That's a great question. Cost is also reasonably very close. Depends on what kind of services. Like for example, in some services, if you just compare like apples to apples, they are very close to each other. And I think I have like a pricing guide coming up. I'll show you guys this. Yeah, cost-wise. Remember, a lot of these costs is going to be driven by sort of the like partnerships and and like deals you guys can get. So let's say you're a Microsoft partner, right? So maybe Microsoft has a sweeter deal than say Amazon, right? Yeah. So cost is a very variable thing, and sometimes like let's say they are competing for like a very big account, and they will cloud vendors will really kind of slash the prices, right? Because they want to get the customer because that's their marquee customer. Yeah. So yeah, cost again, apples to apples, they're pretty reasonably the same, but what you get depends on your deals and everything you guys can get. Yeah. Good question. So here's a kind of a basic things like like how do you segment these guys, like because in Google Cloud, and this is true for pretty much all the cloud vendors, there are so many services available. So sometimes it can be a little dizzy to kind of read through like all the services, because we started with the Amazon Web Service almost from the early days. And when you look into the Amazon Web Service, they were like, maybe 3 or 4 services, and that, we knew exactly what they were, right? But now if you look at Amazon, there's like, like 100 plus services. So some of them are go and read and say, okay, what does it really do, right? Because they're like releasing like a new service like every week. Same thing in Google. But the way to sort of segment this is like, this is a very nice graph. It's like, think of it like these major things: computation, storage, and then big data and services, right? And I'll also go through them in more detail, right? Let me show you guys 1 second. Yeah, actually, let me just go through real quick. So you look at computation. Like, for example, you are just trying to get just compute nodes, right? Machines to crunch data. And then these are their services they have. So their main one is called compute engine, right? And then they have app engines, basically like if you're like, let's say you want to write like a web application, right? And then you're doing like some sort of a social media thing. You're expecting a lot of traffic. So you want your app to scale very rapidly. So you develop app engine. Containers is basically like your Docker kind of a container, right? So you have like some special code you want to run. You have a special target environment, so you can Dockerize or containerize your code, and then deploy on the compute. So this whole thing, this silo is called compute. Then there's storage, meaning how to store your data. Right? Basic storage in Google is called Google Storage, or they call it cloud storage. So think of like just throw files at it. So the storage is basically like file based, right? You can throw the files at it, and they will store them, and it's almost unlimited, right? You can just throw as much files as you want, and almost infinite scale. And then they also provide databases. Like for example, you want SQL database, right? They have one. You want like a big table. Big table is like more like a NoSQL kind of database, right? They have that too. So that's kind of how you should read this. Like, because storage is not all the storage is the same. Sometimes you just want to store a bunch of files. Like imagine people uploading like photos to your application, right? So that you probably want to store in just a cloud storage. And then you have maybe a customer database. You don't want to store as just a file. You want to probably store them as SQL so you can query them, right? So depending on the type of the storage you guys need, they have different kind of storage. Again, remember, I'm not showing all the available options right here, just a few handful. 1 second. So let me see the questions here. So a question about like, how does kind of Azure right now? So in the quadrant, how's kind of Azure? And you can see, right, Azure is kind of pushing really hard because who's the CEO of Microsoft? I kind of blank on the name. Satya Nadella, right? Yeah, so he is very big on the front of cloud, because traditionally Microsoft has been like they were like I mean, you can sort of look back at the history, like they didn't really grasp the internet, right? Because they thought everyone's going to be glued to their desktops, right? So I would say they kind of missed that wave, right? But at the cloud wave, they are determined not to miss it. So the CEO Satya Nadella, right? He is very bullish on the cloud, and you can see, I see like from our consulting engagements, like a lot of our clients are going to Microsoft Cloud. So it looks like they are really pushing it very hard, right? Especially if you're a Microsoft shop, it's a no-brainer, right? Things like if you do like Office and Outlook and all the stuff, right? They're kind of migrating all those customers to cloud, which is kind of a no-brainer for them too, because like this way it's like you already have the customers, right? And they are also like trying to appeal more to more non-Microsoft shops as well, right? Yeah. So yeah, in the last, I would say last 2-3 years, they really made a huge push on the cloud front, and we see a few of our clients use Azure Cloud, and they they are big fans. So yeah, right. So that's good. That's a good question too. And the other question I have is, what kind of a SQL database is this? Good question. So I have used MySQL and Postgres, but I'm pretty sure they have the Microsoft SQL too. Again, the best place to do is kind of go check on their Cloud SQL, because they keep updating the available engines all the time. I'm pretty sure they support Microsoft SQL too, right? So, but I personally use MySQL and Postgres. Yeah. So. Very good. So that's a storage tab makes sense, right? Kind of, you're sort of reading like verticals, right? Compute, storage, And then if you have, let's say you have huge data, right? So much data, how do you do? So here is where, like for example, they have something called BigQuery, which we will look in our class. Like let's say you have so much data, how do you analyze data? And BigQuery is very, very, very powerful and very neat. I'll show you guys when you get to that in the class. And then this data flows think like an ETL workflow, right? And also the data proc, we will look at this. This is more like Spark, right? If you're familiar with Spark. And this pops up, it's a queue system. So if you're familiar with like Kafka, right, or like any JMS queue, this is a queue managed by Google. Right? So that's sort of, if you're having huge amounts of data, this is the offering that you should consider. And then finally, so remember, these are all, how do you say, like service, as in like compute, storage, big data. And then on top of this, they have this high level services. So things like, for example, let's say I want to do translation. I don't want to go build my own translation pipeline, right? Because it's like Google already has built it. So all I want to do is I just want like a quick service, like a web service I want to call. Let's say I want to send like some Japanese text to translate to English, right? I just want to call the API. And then maybe, and then I get billed for how many API calls I made. So rather than kind of building my own thing from scratch, like compute engine, right? Big table storage, all the stuff, I just pay for a service. So you're kind of like think like more and more high. These are kind of high level services, right? So you're not thinking more like resources. You're thinking more like APIs. Right? So the machine learning API, right? Let's say you want to run some prediction model. Again, you can build your own models, but if you just want to use Google's model, right, you can just use your prediction API, right? So again, I sort of look at this more like a higher up in the stack, right? So the sometimes you have to do the low level. Sometimes you want to sort of skip all this and just call a service and pay for the service, right? And there's definitely a market for that too. Okay, so does this slide make sense? Any question on this one? This is kind of cloud summary again. I'm not showing all the services here, just a few popular ones. Any questions on this one, guys? Maybe we'll take a quick break here and then kind of see if you have any questions. So what is big data? That's a good question. So I see this. So when you say big data, right? And the definition of big data is a little murky as well. So depends on kind of what you want to do with big data. So let me explain. So if your data is coming in as large files, right? Let's say you have some database dumps or things like this. Maybe you want to put them in Google Cloud Storage, right? But let's say your big data is coming in as events. Like let's say you have some, you have some factory floor. You are monitoring some sensor data. Those data is not coming as big files, but they are coming as small messages, but millions of messages. Then you want to kind of use PubSub, right? So big data meaning lots of data, but the format, right? How are you getting the big data? Are you getting like bulky files? Are you getting like events? That's going to dictate what kind of system you are going to choose. Yeah, good question. Does that make sense? Yeah. So that's why you have to think about this. So that's why it's good to be familiar with all the systems available, so you can choose a system that will works best for you and your data. Yeah, that's it. Let's see. All right. So again, so the kind of a summary of what we just saw earlier, right? Compute, storage, databases, right? Big data, machine learning, right? So these are services they offer. In a summary. So let's talk about, if we start using Google Cloud, what does it look like? So now how do you manage a project? So this is the kind of hierarchy you think about. So typically you have a domain. So let's say your company, xyz.com, right? That's your domain. Let's say they're hosted on Google, right? So it's kind of an organization, right? And under this, you can actually have what we call projects. So in a company have multiple projects going on, right? And these projects underneath have resources. You can see this, right? So let's say this is like some marketing project, right? and they have their own resources. For example, they have their own virtual machine, they have their own databases, and other resources. Basically, when it's the resources, pretty much anything like these guys, right? They can use a compute engine, they can use a databases, whatever. Right? So when it's a resources, this is what we mean. So the resources, as you can see, are grouped per project. And this is pretty neat because, and also you can sort of see here, right, per organization, you can attach a billing, right? So the billing can, you can see the billing is, you can attach the billing to different projects. So you can say this project is, built to this department, right? So is that kind of makes sense, guys? Kind of a high-level organization, how resources are organized. So typically, when you guys work on a project, basically you work at the project level. So let's say your company is adapting a Google Cloud, you'll usually be assigned to one or more than one project. And when you work on a project, you'll sort of see all the resources for the project. You'll see all the virtual machines, all the databases, and everything else. And when you switch to a project, you sort of see the other resources. So the projects are kind of handy way of segmenting access, right? So let's say I'm a big company, I want to make sure my access is restricted. So what we usually do is we create multiple projects, and then give access to people on a per project basis. Yeah. Okay. So hope this one made sense. Yeah. Okay. So kind of the hierarchy you have to think about, right? Like this, like domain, organization, folders, projects, resources. So let's go through this very quickly, right? What is a domain? So domain is your top level. So some acme.com, right? If you're an individual, then you sort of you are kind of your own domain, basically, right? So that's why it's important to have your own Google account, whether it's through work or through your own personal. So that kind of defines your domain, right? So your domain could be hosted by Google or somebody else, doesn't matter, right? As long as Google identify yours, you're fine. So that's a domain right here. Okay, and then what we have is we have folders. So the folders are kind of just an organization, right? So for example, let's say my company has an engineering folder that may have multiple projects going on. So folders kind of allow us to kind of group things together, and also they can do billing. Like for example, you can say this is how much budget we allocated for engineering. So all the projects at this in this folder should not go beyond that, or something like that, right? So they can help you organize projects and also control billing. That's called folders. Projects. So this is kind of a really key component. So projects are basically, you need a project in Google Cloud to use anything. Okay, so every resource you can think of, whether it's a database, virtual machine, queue system, whatever, they belong to a project, right? So we're kind of at this level right now, right? We're at the project level. So, and this is the very important thing. So you need to have a project in order to be able to create this. Okay, again, projects also control billing. So different projects can be attached to different billings, or you can do like billing. You have multiple billing accounts. You can do like split, like, okay, project one is getting 60% billing goes here, and then 40% billing goes there, right? Things like that. Yeah. So projects can control everything. So the question is, can you have subfolders? That's interesting. I never kind of use it personally, but I need to check on that one, whether you can have subfolders, folder under folder. I'm inclined to say yes, but let me double check. Yep, good question. All right, guys. So some of the use cases, right, when people are using Google Cloud, and so if you go to the Google Cloud, right, they have the customer portal, and they you sort of all these all the use case and case studies, right? So one of the things I want to kind of quickly highlight is, let me see, target, if we can play this. Right, so basically, right, Target as a retailer, obviously, right? So, they are basically building on Google Cloud, right? And so again, the links are here. I'm not going to play the video right now because I don't want to, I don't want to spend the time. But yeah, definitely, watch this video. These are some other ones I selected. HSBC Bank, right? PayPal, all these guys. So if you go to the customer side, you will actually get all the use cases, right? Home Depot, right? All these guys. So anyway, very well adapted. A lot of people are using this, so it's been a good way to sort of for me, like I sort of look, I always gonna go and study these and say, okay, well, what is Target doing with the Google Cloud? Like, how are they building this, right? How are they migrating the existing data into cloud and all that, just to kind of learn. So you learn from all this, right? So definitely these are good videos for you guys to kind of get a sense of Google Cloud. All right. So what I'd like to do real quick is maybe sort of guide you guys through getting a Google Cloud set up. But before we do this, let me kind of pause here for a minute and then see if we have any questions, like, in the overall description, right? So, excuse me. Question is like, I have like high volume transactions, like OLTP, like a database. Which cloud should we use? Which service should I use? Yeah, good question. What you want to do is you want to go here, right? Look at the storage tab. So if you have like really high volume data, Google SQL, Cloud SQL could be a good bet. And also, they have another one called Spanner. We'll talk about this as well when we talk about cloud storage. So Spanner is like another very highly scalable database, which they manage. So if you have high volume database, high volume data, like OLTP kind of use cases, this is what I would highlight. Right? And also, one thing I was, again, I don't want to get too deep into this, but even for like structured data like SQL, there are like different options available. So you can sort of choose one that works for you guys. Right? Oh yeah. So the question is, what might be a prediction API? So for example, let's say you're doing, I don't know, like say stock market prediction, right, or weather forecasting, for example. So let's say you have a weather model that you deploy to Google Cloud, and you want to simply use their services, right? So what you don't want to do is like you don't want to kind of build a whole cluster or the whole thing. Like you simply upload the model, and Google Cloud will basically deploy the model, and you just simply query the model. So the way you think about this like this, right? So right. So here, so I upload my model, right? So let's say Google Cloud will take the model and deploy it on the 2 machines, right? So when the requests come in, they will automatically bounce the request across 2 machines for say load balancing or whatever, right? And let's say my requests are coming in more and more. So Google Cloud will notice this, and they will spin up more instances and deploy the cloud, and they'll sort of load balance, right, evenly. So all I had to do was simply upload the model, and that's it. Basically, Google sort of took care of the rest. I don't really have to worry about, okay, how many servers I'm running, how much I'm paying, do I have scale, all that. Yeah, that's called prediction API. So basically, it's basically, machine learning as a service kind of a thing. You upload your model, and either you can use your own model, or you can use the ones that Google already has published. Right, so, yeah. All right, guys. So any other question on this one? Good. Our question is, can I belong to multiple projects? Yes, absolutely, right? So, for example, you could be assigned to multiple projects. For example, maybe you're part of engineering and maybe you're part of research, right? So then you're sort of part of projects. Absolutely, yeah. So you can part of multiple projects. When you logged into a project, and this is what I want to show you guys today, when you're logged into a project, you will only see resources for the project. Yep. Okay, so let's actually have you guys access Google Cloud. So let me sort of show you guys, what we had to do, right? So simply, just go, just Google Cloud, right? So if you guys can do this along with me. So really cloud.google.com, right? That's a URL. Okay, so go ahead and log in, please. So you should see a sign that says go to console. So let's go to go to console right now. So for this, what they will do is they will actually, so this is where you need an account, and you will log in to a project. So as you can see, I'm part of multiple projects, right? So if you don't have a project, they will basically prompt you to go and create a project. So go ahead and go ahead and create a project, right? So first, I want to make sure you guys can log in. Let's make sure we can, right? So your screen might look a little different than mine because I have active projects, so yours might look a little different. And the project drop down is right here. See? Okay. All right, guys, how are you guys doing over here? Are you able to log into Google Cloud? So just just wait to sort of make sure everyone's able to catch up. Yep. Any issues, please let me know. I'll help you through that. All right, guys. So how are you guys doing with the projects? All right, guys. So let me I want to quickly see how you guys are doing. Um, so I just kind of create a Zoom polling to see how you guys are doing with the Google Cloud. So please let me know if you're able to log in to Google Cloud, either your personal account or work account, either way. Okay, so you check your Google Cloud, Zoom meeting. There's like a poll going on. So let me know if you're able to log in. Okay. Oh, 1 second. Not sure why the poll is not showing up. Give me a sec. Okay, has anybody seen the poll showing up now? Oh, okay. Interesting, something is going on. Okay, let me see. Yeah, interesting. So I thought I was kind of setting up a poll, but okay, yeah, it's not showing up for some reason. Oh, okay, there we go. Okay, thank you. Yes. All right, guys, excellent. Yeah, so, right, so if you're in Google Cloud, that's perfect. Very good, thank you. So, so here, I mean, again, my screen kind of looks might look a little different than what you guys see, right? First thing is to create a new project, right? Sometimes they will automatically assign you a project. So, here's my first one, right? They may create a project, but if not, you can always create a new project. And you can sort of see here, right? This is my domain, right? I think if you are logging in as individuals, it might say no organization, right? And I simply see a new project, right? And I'm gonna walk through the new project. Let me kind of walk you through one more time. So, right, let's go to right training setup project. Say new project, okay, and then just give it a name, right? So you say DS, right? Data science at GCP. So this is like 2 or something, right? So just give it a name, right? That's all we need. Okay, and then simply say create a project. Okay, so they can, so the project can be still being created, right? Once it's ready, you can actually switch the project. So look at the project switch right here. You can simply switch to the project, right? How's this going, guys? Going okay? So we basically create a project. Question is, they may need a credit card on file before they allow you to create a project. So unless unless you have free credits, they may prompt you for a credit card. Because like when you create a project, you can actually start creating resources. Like you can create databases, virtual machines, things like that, right? So they need like some billing associated with the project before they can allow you to do that. So yeah, so if you get that thing, that's kind of what's going on. Yeah. Right. So the question is like, somebody asked me like, how much should I expect to spend if I use my own personal credit card? Honestly, guys, I mean, for this class, like less than $10, right? If that. Because the resources that we are going to be using, we'll try to be a little frugal about it. So yeah, so you probably want to go beyond that, right? So yeah, so if you need to, if he's asking, so don't be don't be put off. Yeah, I mean they do need a credit card on file, right? Just to kind of in case you spin a bunch of machines and yeah, right. So I wouldn't worry about this. So it's $10 is it's not a bad deal. Yeah. All right, so here's a project, right? So you can sort of so here's a project info. So you can like for example, here's where we actually go and let's say you invite people, right? So here you can I can invite people in my company, say Mark, right? And then I can select a role. I can say what kind of role is that? Is he like a owner, right? Meaning that means right, he has full access to everything in the project. Or you can also do like things like for example you can even do like a let me do this. You can do like browser, right? Or viewer, basically meaning kind of like read access. Like when you define a database, how you say, okay, these people can have access to the database, but they can only do queries. They cannot modify anything. So that's basically in Google Cloud we call them viewer, right? So this is a project level ownership, right? Owner, viewer, right? Editor, meaning you can modify resources, things like that. But also you can see here, right? You see these are all different services. So you can even control put a service level access to. For example, you can say, okay, I want to assign a BigQuery, and this guy is a BigQuery, let's say user, right? Meaning he can only run BigQuery, no other services, right? So so you can even do like service level access or like resource level access, right? You can say, okay, and I want to say, okay, I want to make sure he's a Bigtable, but he's a Bigtable admin. Anyways, you get the idea, right? So you can keep adding new roles, either a blanket role across the project, right? Or just per action. Like for example, if you have a database DB admin, his only thing is just Cloud SQL, right? That's pretty much all he has access to. There you go, right? Cloud SQL and Cloud SQL admin. That's it. So you can add people on your domain, right? So does that make sense, guys? Any question on this one? Again, pretty straightforward, right? So basically, we create a project, and then we add people to it. So kind of I always remember the diagram. This one here. Kind of remember the hierarchy. Where was that? Yeah. So remember the hierarchy, right? So you're kind of at a project level, and then you start adding people, so they have access to the resources. So you can do like a blanket level authorization, or just per service, database, VMs, and things like this. So it's pretty flexible. So the question is like, okay, so how do I choose users? Are only people in Google domain? No. So I mean, my company, Elephant Scale, we are hosted on Google. So so that's convenient. But maybe your company is not. So in that case, what you will do is you basically you have to sort of go through another process to register your domain in Google. It's basically so they know your domain is being managed as a Google platform. Even though you're not hosting anything, you just need to create an account, right? And then once they create an account, then then you can actually add people from there. Yep. And I know they will work with like different authorization, like if you're like LDAP and all the stuff, they will work with that. But of course, if you're hosted on Google, easy, right? Because everything is integrated. But even if you're not, you can sort of create like a Google organization and then kind of add people to that. Yeah. Make sense? Yeah. Right. So question is like, okay, can we do a comparison between Amazon versus Google? Yes. So as we so this one is like kind of an intro level. So as we go deeper into the class, like as we start doing like all these components, right? Like all these services, compute, storage, and big data, I will compare and contrast with other cloud, right? Yeah. So yeah, definitely we'll do compare and contrast. So let's say you're familiar with like Azure or AWS. You can sort of give you, okay, so this is the way cloud is different. Yep. So, all right, guys, so that's projects and adding people to the project, right? So I hope everyone's able to kind of, go through this one, and, most of you are going to be just, single owner projects, right? So again, this is the project drop down, okay? Oh, how do you add the domain for Google Cloud? So it's basically, you have to kind of, basically, just like you're creating a Gmail, you have to create a domain account, but then they will kind of go through a verification process, right? They will kind of, ask you either to update some domain settings, so they know you are indeed on the domain, right? Like for example, like I shouldn't be able to go and create a domain account for Walmart, right? So yeah, so there's like there like some authorization you had to go through, so they can verify, yes, you are part of the domain, and then that's when you create. Yeah. So it's slightly behind, beyond the scope here, but yeah, it's very. I mean, the document is very clear, but at this point, it's like creating a new, almost like a new company on Google, right? But they will need to verify you actually are part of the company, right? So sometimes they will send you emails, and sometimes they will ask you to modify like DNS records for your website, things like that, just to make sure, right? Yes, you are indeed on the domain. Yeah. Okay. All right. So once you have the project selected, you see like a little thing on the left, the nav menu. Go ahead and click on that, please. All right. So this is where, again, right here, so you can see my mouse on the top left corner. So this is where you're going to see all your services. All right. And you can see, right, it's a pretty long list. And so you can see, some of them are kind of shortlisted here. The way you should do that is like, say, because these are the ones I use mostly. So what I do is I kind of, go to them, and you see like a little pin thing. You can pin this, and they will pin this on top of your on the menu. Like for example, let's say since you guys are getting started, maybe you want to sort of watch some introductory tutorials. So kind of click on this pin button, and it'll kind of show up here. Right, so it's easy access. Right. Anyway, so very easy. And then when you click on the menu, right, you go home. That's your right. That's your project home, and all the services. And as you can see, right, they're like here's a compute services. App engine, compute engine, Kubernetes, cloud functions, right? All that. Storage is like, right? So I mean, there are even just in storage, they're like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost like 9 or 10 items, right? So it's not a simple storage because they're like solution for pretty much every scenario you can think about, right? So and networking controls, your VPNs and the whole thing. Anyway, right? So as you can see, this is where you can sort of you can explore a little bit here if you guys want. And we'll go through, we won't be able to go through all of them in the class, right? But I will highlight some of the important ones, basically, the ones, that we highlighted. Like, for example, we'll definitely look at BigQuery. We'll look at Studio, right? All these things. So, but as you can see, right, I mean, they're pretty extensive in what they offer. All right, guys, let's see what else I need to walk you guys through here. Okay. So again, today's class kind of give you like a taste of what the class and kind of get you guys set up. Cool. So that's kind of what I wanted to cover. Any questions, guys? Any questions so far on about the class or good cloud or anything in general? All right, guys. So for the cloud, remember. So again, please, right, if you guys are doing this, please, right, access Google Cloud either personally or through work, either way, right? Because that's where all the labs are going to be run. So today is like a very first introduction. I went through just how to create access and how to create sample projects. Okay, and we are going to use the project you guys created for our whole section. For example, in the next section in the class, we are going to look at how to create compute instances, right? So for example, right? So here's my project. I want to create compute instances. So so everything you do, as long as the project is selected, everything you do, right? Compute, right? It's going to be another project. So again, you'll notice that like when they initialize the service, it'll take a while, but once the project is kind of in use, it's pretty quick. Good, guys. Any other questions? So the question is like, how many hours you want to kind of work on your own? That's up to you guys. So the class is a very fast-paced class because we want to make sure we we introduce guys to as many components as possible with the time to do assignments. But I do recommend, right, since it's a very fast-paced class, I recommend you guys spend some time after the class as well. And how much is kind of up to you guys, right? So so the way the labs are structured is like we have some essential labs which we will do, and I have some bonus labs that's for you guys to explore. So that's kind of if you have time, I'll definitely encourage you guys to do that too. Yeah. Okay. The project ID is automatically generated, right? And thing is like the project name you're going to change. Like once you declare a project name, you're going to change it because you can see the ID, right? The IDs are kind of generated automatically. Like for example, like let me see. Okay, there we go, right? See, I created a training project because training is not a unique name, so they can create like a training, 260 whatever, right? Number. Yeah, so they will create a unique ID for you. The name, I mean, again, the name is just our name. That's for us, but the ID is unique. Yeah, you're right. So that is created by Google. That's right. All right, guys. So good. So I want to make sure you guys are all set up here, right? So today's agenda was basically introduce you guys to the class and also give you guys some resources so you can get started. So here's a document. You should be all in. Again, I'll put the URL here for you guys to kind of get access to it, just so you don't forget. So everything you guys need is here. Check through the checklist. And if you need to shoot me an email, please do here. And then here's the materials for today. And also here's a discount code for the actual class running next week. So if you're interested, right? That's it. That's kind of what I want to go over, guys. So I don't have anything else. So what I would do is I'll kind of open for Q&A if you have any questions. And unless you have any questions, we are done for tonight. Right? If you have any questions, please do hang around. I'm happy to answer any questions. Oh, shutting down. So yes, yes. So right now, if you just create a project, you don't have any resources. So yeah, so you just create a project, so you're fine. So there's nothing to shut down. So because right now what you have is you probably have like an empty project with no resources. Yeah, so they won't bill you for that. Yep. So that's fine. So yeah, you guys are fine today.